Welcome to the 16th episode of Unique Careers, Unique Lives. This is a show, and I'm on a quest to find how people get unstuck and create unique careers, unique lives. Every fourth episode, I talk here on my own, with the hope that you will be hearing it. My purpose in these episodes is that I reflect back on what I have learned talking to my guests and also share with you the learnings from my own life. This one is a special episode because I am going through an analysis paralysis. Do you know this term? Analysis paralysis is the state you find yourself when you cannot decide and you keep on thinking, is it the right thing to do? What are the pros and cons of doing this? You ask everyone. You constantly occupy your mind with this idea. And in the end, you don't do anything. And that was exactly my experience. For some time now, I have been feeling distant to my website, unique.com. I was sharing you at the end of each episode where you can find the show notes. And I had to spell it out because the way you might hear it is not necessarily how it's written. I've grown out of this website name because I was told quite in the early times of my journey that it sounded very similar to another word in English, which doesn't have such a positive meaning. Maybe you have noticed that it's called eunuch. A man, a castrated man who is used as a servant. In the beginning, I found this idea amusing, but by time, it just played its trick on me. And in addition to that, I find it difficult to tell you the name of the website. The joke behind it, that is being similar to Munich, didn't actually work. And I don't want to stay local to Munich. That's why by time I grew distant to this name. And I also felt more and more passion to share multiple sides of mine. I do coaching, I do podcasting. I am the co-founder of an academy that teaches coaching. I love singing, I love writing, I love meeting new people. I am in Toastmasters, I do speaking, and I would like to have a stage, a platform where I can express all of those. And I couldn't do it all in unique.com. I developed a need to express my unique self. So that's why I created a domain under my name. As I had grown out of my old website, unique.com, and I had grown this new pleasure of sharing my full self, the question came, what will I do about podcast? Because I still would like to host my podcast in a place and would like to refer you to a website if you want to read more about my guests and see the links that I refer to during the podcast. And I was thinking, should I create a new website with the podcast name? Should I do it under my name? Should I? I bought the domain, but I still couldn't move with the decision to host it there because I was thinking, well, I will still have 2 websites to manage. Do I want to do that? I kept on analyzing. I didn't take any decision till today. today I weighed these two things and I realized that it doesn't actually matter so much. That I was putting so much pressure on myself to make no mistakes. But my intention is the most important thing here. What I want a place where I can keep my references that is easily reachable. And I also want another place where I can keep on creating and share my creations. So why should I stop? In the future, if I realize that I cannot keep on managing or my name becomes more known so that you would easily find it when you write it online, maybe then I would be just hosting things on my name domain. And it wasn't such a big deal. I made it such a big deal for myself. If you find yourself in a position of analysis paralysis, I suggest you talk things through with someone else. Because when someone else asks you questions and you reflect on them, you see that things are not so serious. You hear yourself speaking like it's heaven or hell, like there is no tomorrow. But actually, it's just an experience. Hear yourself talking about the issue and then feel, is that really that important to you? What is your real intention? A second way to handle this situation when you find yourself in analysis paralysis would be to take one action, to experiment something less risky and see how it feels to you. In my case, my action will be actually launching this new website, and I will see how it feels. I can always change it. The third would be imagining that you have solved this challenge that is waiting in front of you. You have solved this challenge, the other challenge, multiple challenges, and you reach to this place in the future where you know everything worked great, everything will work great. You can make right decisions. You are experiencing the life that you want to live. You are this wise version of yourself. And looking from there, how relevant is this? How will this decision impact that? You might see that it's actually a tiny step and the decision might be really easy for you. Or you might see with your wise self that one is actually wiser than the other. What you would like to do is to go out of this tight situation of solving problem to a spacious place where you can observe and feel with this spaciousness. If everything worked right, if everything was possible, how would that look? That will give you some impulses and you will go with that. My analysis paralysis was, where will I host my podcast? And I decided that it will be uniquecareersuniquelives.com. I will still be writing about everything else and share everything else I'm doing under my own name. And I will observe how it feels. And at least I'm taking one action. And that gives me to observe the impact and gather feedback, because I could stay stuck forever. What is your analysis paralysis? Where do you feel yourself stuck? What one action you can take? With who you can talk it out? And if you solve this, you solve the next challenge, you just continue with your life, you achieve everything you desire, and you become this person you always want to be. Looking from there, how relevant is this thing right now? And what would your wise self say about this situation? I hope that would help for your analysis paralysis. This is the 16th episode. I had wonderful interviews in the last weeks. Well, I cannot say in the last 3 weeks because I paused quite some weeks in between. But in the last 3 episodes, I have interviewed wonderful people. In the 13th episode, my guest was Allegra Stein. And Allegra shared with me her way of getting unstuck. And it's quite similar to what I told you in this episode. It's taking one step, seeing how it impacts, taking other step, making requests. What new request can you do? What new action can you take? And just being comfortable with the change, with the unknown. My next guest in the 13th episode was Duygu Yürük. Duygu is a great friend of mine, and it was such a pleasure talking with her. I have seen another side of her. I have seen the business person side of her, how she's passionate about the things she does, especially her interest in discovering what is the potential, trying different things and bringing this potential to life. She's one of these people that I feel have found her passion quite early. She loved selling, she was good at it, and then she followed it, and whatever she took in her hands, she gave her full heart and mind. And she always challenged herself with the next thing. And she grew and grew, and her potential grew with every step she took. From this perspective, actually, we can all look into our lives in such a way and think, what is the next challenge? We can look at our lives when we experience some hardship, some difficulty, we can see, oh, that's a new challenge. What will I learn from this? How will I grow from this? Instead of pitying ourselves that we cannot make it or how poor we are, we can see, oh, what do I need to learn from this? How will my learning help myself and others and the people and organizations around me? I think if we can see life, career, everything from this perspective, we would be feeling more alive. And that's personally a very important value of mine, feeling alive. 15th episode was another delight. This time my guest was Mina Funk. Mina is fire. She has this deep wisdom of hers, which she shares like sweetly and comfortably. She shared her own struggles of transitioning from a highly successful corporate life to entrepreneurship, and how she found herself in a place of coaching. She emphasized again the importance of experimentation. When we are still maybe having a fixed job or a project that we are interested in, still keeping our eyes and minds open for other things that interest us, and doing side experimentations to see how we feel about them, and keeping a portfolio of multiple projects. That is how we can plan our careers and create a beautiful mix for ourselves, create our unique careers and lives, rather than just directly jumping into it. From her experience, she shared, she thought she could just start selling art in her art business. She would first get contacts from artists, agreements, so that she can sell their art pieces. But she found out that it was actually the buyers that played the most important role. So if you are considering running your own business, creating something new, I think that's a really gem that we learned from her, like how we can go out and have conversations with people that we want to serve. So when we are ready to go and start serving, we know how we can support them, and we already have contacts that we can go and offer our services and get feedback. Because even if we cannot sell, the feedback we would get from our contacts would give us the benefit of serving them better. I found her stories really, really beautiful. It also stayed with me what she said about learning, because I could relate to that. I think I have postponed doing things. Because I was afraid. Let me remind you what she said. I suggest you go and listen to the 15th episode. What she said was, for a long time, she has hidden herself behind learning. She said, I need to learn this more. I need to learn this more, this, and that. She kept herself busy with courses, with learning. But in the end, she already knew a lot. What she needed to do was to extract the core of her learning and bring it as a service to others. How she could package what she already know and put into service of others. And by doing that, she started refreshing her learnings and enriching herself from this perspective. What is it that you already know that you can offer to service of others? I think that shifts really our perspectives. I'm so excited for the upcoming episodes. Stay tuned for the next 2 weeks, because I'm going to share with you wonderful interviews with wonderful people. What I especially love about podcasting is this opportunity of deep conversations. When you create this space, something magical arises. When you deeply listen to another person, you can feel so much energy and wisdom coming from them. It's important that you are present and you can notice it in your body, how that impacts you. That's an important competency we always talk about in coaching, this presence. And I really value this learning that I got through coaching that reflects in all the conversations I have, and also to this podcast. And I'm very grateful to all my guests who accepted to talk with me, because I learned so much from them. And I hope you also learn from this podcast and from my guest. I would be grateful if you share with me how I can serve you better, who I should interview, what you want to learn more about. And also give me feedback what you liked, so that I can do more of that. I'm closing the 16th episode with my best wishes. I wish you the presence, feeling alive and seeing what life offers as a gift and opportunity to grow and to serve others. Take care and talk to you in the next episode. Oh, before you go, you can find all the podcasts and show notes now in the new website that has the same name with this podcast, Unique Careers, uniquelives.com. That is the result of my analysis paralysis, and I hope you enjoy all the content, and I'm looking forward to talking to you in the next episode. Take care.